The arrogance of the Korthax. The Korthax Empire had ruled the Orion arm of the galaxy for 300 cycles. Their warships were legends of terror. Their soldiers were bred for combat for birth. 12 species had fallen before them, their worlds now serving as mining colonies and agricultural centers for the Empire. The Korthax believed they were invincible, chosen by fate to dominate the stars. When humans first ventured beyond their solar system, the Korthax barely noticed. These pale, fragile creatures seemed unremarkable. They built modest colonies on distant moons and asteroids. They traded peacefully with other species. They asked questions constantly, always curious, always learning. The Korthax saw no threat in them, only another weak species ripe for conquest. Commander Sarah Chun stood in the observation deck of a human trade station orbiting New Harmony, a thriving colony world where 10,000 humans had built farms and cities over the past decade. She was 42 years old with sharp dark eyes and graying hair tied back in a practical bun. For 15 years, she had served in the Earth Defense Initiative, mostly handling pirates and smugglers. Real war seemed like ancient history, something humanity had left behind centuries ago. The morning started peacefully. Supply ships docked and departed. Farmers sent their harvests up from the surface. Children attended schools where they learned about the wonders of the galaxy. Nobody suspected what was coming. The alert came without warning. 15 massive ships dropped out of hyperspace around New Harmony. They were angular and dark, covered in weapons that bristled like the spines of some ancient predator. Commander Chin recognized them immediately from intelligence briefings. Korthax warships. Her heart hammered in her chest, but her voice remained steady. All stations to alert status. Give me a communication channel to those ships. She turned to her tactical officer. And wake up Earth. Tell them we have a situation. The Korthax commander's face appeared on the main screen. He was tall and reptilian with scales that shimmered like oil on water. His eyes were cold and yellow, completely without mercy. When he spoke, his voice came through the translator as harsh and mocking. Human creatures, I am war leader Xanthek of the Korthax Empire. Your world now belongs to us. You will provide tribute of 1 million tons of refined metals, 100,000 workers for our mining operations, and complete access to your technology. You have 1 solar rotation to comply. Refuse, and we will take everything by force. Commander Chun felt anger rising in her chest, but she kept her expression neutral. War leader Xanthek. New Harmony is a peaceful colony. We have trade agreements with 7 species and recognition from the Galactic Assembly. Your demands violate treaty law. Xanthek laughed. It was a terrible sound like rocks grinding together. Treaty law means nothing to the Korthax. The strong take what they want. The weak serve or die. Which will you choose, human? We choose neither, Chen replied firmly. Leave our system now, and this incident will be forgotten. Stay, and you will regret it. The Korthax commander's expression changed to something like amusement. You dare threaten us? Your species has been in space for barely 50 cycles. We have conquered civilizations older than your entire history. I will show you what happens to those who defy the Korthax. The communication ended. Commander Chen immediately opened channels to the colony below. This is Commander Chun to all settlements. Initiate emergency evacuation procedures immediately. This is not a drill. Get everyone to the underground shelters now. On New Harmony's surface, alarms began wailing across every city and town. Parents grabbed their children. Workers abandoned their posts. Everyone ran for the reinforced bunkers that had been built into the bedrock, shelters that most people thought were unnecessary paranoia. Dr. Marcus Webb was in his laboratory when the alarm started. He was a thin man in his 50s with wild gray hair and hands stained from chemical work. For 20 years, he had researched advanced materials science, developing new alloys and composites for spacecraft construction. His work seemed academic and peaceful. Nobody knew about his classified military projects. He ran to his office and locked the door behind him. His fingers moved quickly across a hidden console. This is Webb. Authorization code Delta 7 Alpha 9. initiating protocol blackout. Across human space, hidden transmitters activated. Secret military facilities received emergency signals. Research stations locked down their most sensitive projects. Deep in asteroid bases and underwater complexes, weapons systems that officially didn't exist began powering up. Humanity had not been idle during its 50 years among the stars. Humans remembered their own violent history. They knew that peace was fragile. While they traded and explored openly, they had also prepared quietly for the possibility of war. Just in case. Captain James Okoye commanded a cargo hauler called the Persistent Hope. He was a massive man with dark skin and a gentle smile, the kind of person everyone liked immediately. His ship was carrying mining equipment to the outer colonies when the distress call came from New Harmony. He changed course without hesitation. His crew looked at him with concern. "Captain, we're not a warship," his first officer said. "What can we do against the Korthax?" "We can witness," Okoye replied grimly. "And we can make sure the truth gets out. Everyone needs to know what happens here today." The Korthax warships opened fire on New Harmony. Their weapons were devastating, designed to break the will of entire populations. Energy beams tore through the atmosphere and struck the surface. Farms burned. Cities crumbled. Thousands of years of human achievement vanished in fire and smoke. But the people were safe in their shelters. The casualties were minimal. Commander Chun had acted quickly enough to save most of the population. From orbit, she watched her colony burn and felt something cold and hard settle in her chest. "They're targeting civilian infrastructure," her tactical officer reported. "No, military targets. They're trying to terrorize us into submission." "Document everything," Chin ordered quietly. "Every attack, every target, every death. Make sure nothing is forgotten." Captain Okoye's ship approached the system carefully, staying far enough away to avoid detection. His sensors recorded the destruction. His cameras captured images of the Korthax bombardment. He transmitted everything back to Earth on encrypted channels. The attack lasted for 6 hours. When it ended, New Harmony's surface was scarred and burning. The Korthax had destroyed 70% of the colony's infrastructure. 317 humans had died in the shelters that took direct hits. War leader Xanthek sent one final message. "This is what mercy looks like, humans. This is what happens when you refuse the Korthax. We will return in 10 solar rotations. Have our tribute ready, or we will finish what we started today. Every human on this world will die." The Korthax fleet jumped to hyperspace and vanished. They left behind a broken colony and a species that would never forget. On Earth, in the council chambers buried deep beneath the mountains of Switzerland, the leaders of humanity gathered. President Elena Vasquez stood at the head of the table. She was 70 years old, a veteran of the water wars that had nearly destroyed Earth 50 years earlier. She had spent her life working for peace. Now she had to prepare for war. "They killed our people," she said quietly. "They destroyed our colony. They promised to come back and finish the job." She looked around the table at the military commanders, scientists, and intelligence officers. "What are our options?" General Zhang Wei spoke first. He was the head of the Earth Defense Initiative, a stern man who had spent his career preparing for exactly this situation. "We have assets they don't know about. Research facilities working on advanced weapons. Ship designs that have never been tested in combat. Soldiers trained for scenarios we hoped would never happen." Dr. Marcus Webb joined the meeting by secure hologram. "My team has developed weapons systems based on quantum entanglement principles. We can strike targets across multiple light years simultaneously. We have kinetic accelerators that can punch through any known shielding. We have stealth technology that makes our ships invisible to conventional sensors." Admiral Lisa Kowalski added her assessment. "We have 300 ships that could be retrofitted for combat within 2 months. Another 500 in various stages of construction. We've been building quietly, disguised as civilian projects. The Korthax think we have maybe 50 outdated defense vessels. They have no idea what we're actually capable of." President Vasquez listened to all the reports. She thought about the 317 people who had died on New Harmony. She thought about the families who had lost everything. She thought about what would happen if humanity did nothing. The Korthax think we're weak, she said finally. They think we'll surrender or die quietly. They've never fought a species that fights back with everything it has. She stood up and placed both hands flat on the table. We're not going to wait for them to come back to new harmony. We're not going to let them dictate terms. We're going to show them exactly what happens when you push humanity too far. The vote was unanimous. Humanity would go to war. Across human space, the mobilization began. It happened quietly at first. Civilian factories started producing military equipment. Research labs accelerated their weapons development programs. Young people volunteered for military service in numbers that surprised everyone. Retired soldiers returned to active duty. Commander Sarah Chun remained at New Harmony, coordinating the evacuation of the surviving colonists and documenting the damage. She walked through the ruins of cities where she had once watched children play. She visited hospitals where doctors treated burn victims and people in shock. She attended memorials for the dead. At one memorial, a young girl no more than 8 years old approached her. The child's face was streaked with tears. "My daddy died protecting our shelter," the girl said. "Will you make the bad aliens pay for what they did?" Chen knelt down and looked the girl in the eyes. "Yes," she promised. "We will make them pay, and we'll make sure this never happens to anyone else ever again." Dr. Webb worked 20-hour days in his laboratory. His team assembled the first prototype weapons and tested them in secret facilities far from inhabited worlds. The results exceeded their expectations. The quantum strike system could destroy targets with pinpoint accuracy across vast distances. The kinetic accelerators could penetrate Korthax armor like it was paper. The stealth systems made human ships completely undetectable. Captain Okoye volunteered his ship and crew for military service. The Persistent Hope was retrofitted with weapons and sensors. Okoye himself trained with combat crews, learning tactics and strategies. His gentle smile disappeared, replaced by a grim determination. 6 months passed. The Korthax believed humanity was preparing tribute or fleeing to other systems. War leader Xanthek boasted to his fellow commanders about how easily he had broken the human spirit. The Korthax High Command approved his request to return to New Harmony and claim their prize. But the Korthax intelligence was catastrophically wrong. Humanity wasn't preparing tribute. Humanity wasn't running away. Humanity was preparing something the Korthax had never encountered before. A unified, coordinated, total war effort powered by human ingenuity, determination, and a burning desire for justice. The galaxy was about to learn a lesson that would echo for generations. Never underestimate a species that has survived its own worst instincts. Never attack those who value peace above all else. And never, ever mistake human patience for human weakness. The countdown had begun. In 4 more months, the Korthax would return to New Harmony expecting submission. Instead, they would find something that would shatter their empire and change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The Reckoning. The Korthax fleet assembled at the edge of their empire, preparing for their triumphant return to New Harmony. War leader Xanthek stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominator, surrounded by his most trusted commanders. 50 warships floated in formation around him, more than enough to crush any resistance the pathetic humans might offer. "Today we claim another world for the Empire," Xanthek announced to his crew. "The humans have had 10 rotations to prepare our tribute. If they have been foolish enough to refuse again, we will exterminate every last one of them and take what we want from the ashes." His officers roared their approval. The Korthax had never known defeat. Their military doctrine was simple and brutal. Strike hard, strike fast, and show no mercy. Lesser species either submitted or died. There was no third option. The fleet jumped to hyperspace. Their destination was New Harmony, where they expected to find frightened humans begging for their lives. The journey would take 6 hours. Xanthek spent the time reviewing the tribute demands and planning how to display human skulls in his trophy hall. He had no idea that every movement of his fleet was being tracked. Human intelligence networks had infiltrated Korthax communications months ago. Officer Maya Patel worked in a hidden facility on Europa, monitoring enemy transmissions around the clock. She was 28 years old with a gift for languages and pattern recognition that had made her one of humanity's most valuable intelligence assets. "I have confirmation," she reported to her superiors. The Korthax fleet departed on schedule. 50 warships under Xanthek's command. They'll arrive at New Harmony in exactly 5 hours and 42 minutes. General Zhang Wei received the information in his command center deep beneath the lunar surface. He looked at the tactical displays showing human forces positioned throughout Korthax space. Everything was ready. He opened a secure channel to President Vasquez. "Madam President, the enemy is moving. Request permission to execute Operation Reckoning." President Vasquez sat in her office on Earth, looking at photographs of the people who had died on New Harmony. 317 faces. 317 reasons why what came next was necessary. She took a deep breath and gave the order that would change galactic history. "Permission granted, General. Show them what humanity is capable of." Across human space, military forces received their final orders. Hundreds of ships that had been hiding in asteroid fields and nebulae activated their engines. Soldiers who had been training for months boarded their transports. Weapon systems that had never been used in combat powered up for the first time. Dr. Marcus Webb stood in the command center of the research station where his quantum strike weapons were installed. His hands trembled slightly as he initialized the targeting systems. Around him, technicians monitored displays showing Korthax military installations across 12 star systems. "All quantum strike platforms are online and synchronized," one technician reported. "We have locks on every target." 347 military installations, 62 shipyards, and 89 command centers. Webb thought about the young girl at the memorial on New Harmony, the one who had asked if the bad aliens would pay for killing her father. He thought about all the other species the Korthax had conquered and enslaved. He thought about the message humanity needed to send. "Fire on my mark," he said quietly. 3, 2, 1 mark. The quantum strike weapons activated simultaneously. They used principles of quantum entanglement to deliver devastating kinetic impacts across vast distances instantly. There was no warning, no defense, no time to react. In a single, coordinated moment, every major Korthax military installation in their empire was hit. Shipyards exploded. Command centers collapsed. Weapons depots detonated in massive fireballs. Thousands of Korthax military personnel died before they even knew they were under attack. The Korthax Empire's military infrastructure was crippled in less than 10 seconds. On the Korthax homeworld, High Commander Vraxis was in a strategy meeting when the alarm started screaming. Reports flooded in from every corner of the Empire. Attacks everywhere at once. Impossible precision. Devastating damage. "Who is attacking us?" he roared at his intelligence officers. "Where are these strikes coming from?" "We don't know, High Commander," came the terrified response. "We're detecting no ships, no missiles, no energy signatures. The strikes are just happening. It's like the universe itself is attacking us." But it wasn't the universe. It was humanity showing the Korthax what real military power looked like. War leader Xanthek's fleet dropped out of hyperspace at New Harmony right on schedule. He expected to see a broken colony and frightened humans. Instead, his sensors showed something that made his blood run cold. 200 human warships waited in perfect formation around the planet. They were sleek and deadly, covered in weapons that his tactical computers couldn't identify, and they were completely invisible to his long-range sensors. His fleet had jumped right into the middle of them. "Impossible," Xanthek whispered. "The humans don't have this kind of military. Where did these ships come from?" Captain James Okoye stood on the bridge of a ship, no longer the civilian cargo hauler, but now the combat vessel Persistent Justice. He was part of the human fleet, and his gentle smile had become something cold and determined. "All ships, this is Fleet Commander Okoye," he transmitted to the human forces. Lock weapons on enemy vessels. Prepare to fire on my command. Admiral Lisa Kowalski commanded the human fleet from her flagship, the Unbreakable Will. She had spent 6 months planning this moment, calculating every variable, preparing for every contingency. Now it was time to execute. She opened a communication channel to the Korthax fleet. War leader Xanthek's face appeared on her screen, his expression showing confusion and the first hints of fear. War leader Xanthek, Admiral Kowalski said calmly, "You came to our world. You murdered our people. You promised to return and finish what you started. We decided not to wait for you." Xanthek's composure cracked. "You cannot challenge the Korthax Empire. We have crushed species far stronger than you. Surrender now, and we will make your deaths quick." "No," Kowalski replied simply. "You will surrender to us, or you will die here today. Those are your only options." Xanthek snarled and cut the transmission. "All ships attack formation. Destroy these arrogant humans. Show them the true power of the Korthax." The Korthax fleet charged forward, their weapons blazing. But they were fighting an enemy they didn't understand. Human ships didn't engage in the straightforward, slugging matches the Korthax expected. They used tactics that confused and frustrated the enemy. Commander Sarek Chun commanded a destroyer squadron that struck from unexpected angles. Her ships would appear, fire devastating salvos, then vanish using their stealth systems before the Korthax could return fire. The enemy couldn't track them, couldn't predict them, couldn't hit them. "Target their command ship," Chun ordered. Multiple strike pattern Delta 7. Her 6 destroyers materialized around Xanthek's flagship from 6 different directions simultaneously. They fired kinetic accelerators that punched through the Korthax shields like they didn't exist. The impacts tore massive holes in the flagship's hull. Xanthek felt his ship shudder under the assault. Return fire. Kill them. But his weapons targeted empty space. The human ships had already vanished, moving to their next attack position. Lieutenant Commander Rachel Kim led a squadron of fighters equipped with advanced AI systems. These weren't human pilots, but autonomous combat drones that could think and react faster than any biological being. They swarmed through the Korthax formation like angry wasps, targeting engines and weapon systems with surgical precision. A Korthax cruiser tried to shoot down the drones with its defensive batteries. It destroyed 3 of them, but 20 more replaced them instantly. The drones overwhelmed the cruiser's defenses and tore it apart from the inside, exploiting weak points that human analysts had identified months earlier. The battle that the Korthax expected to win in minutes turned into a nightmare. Human weapons were more advanced. Human tactics were more sophisticated. Human coordination was flawless. The Korthax fought with brute force, but humanity fought with precision and intelligence. Dr. Webb monitored the battle from his command center. "Deploy the disruptor field," he ordered. Another human innovation activated, a quantum field that interfered with Korthax shield harmonics. Suddenly, every Korthax ship in the battle found their shields failing without explanation. "Our shields are down," Xanthek's tactical officer screamed. "I don't understand why. There's no damage to the generators. They just stopped working." "It doesn't matter," Xanthek roared. "We still have armor and weapons. Press the attack." But armor without shields meant the Korthax ships were vulnerable. Human weapons found their marks with devastating effect. One by one, Korthax warships exploded or went dark, their crews dead or dying. Captain Okoye's ship engaged a Korthax battleship in close combat. The enemy vessel was 3 times larger, but size meant nothing against superior technology and tactics. Okoye's weapons systematically destroyed the battleship's engines, weapons, and life support. "Target disabled, Captain," his tactical officer reported. "The crew is abandoning ship." "Let them go," Okoye said. "But make sure they see what we're doing to their fleet. Make sure they understand what happens when you attack innocent people." The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, 47 Korthax warships were destroyed or disabled. Only 3 managed to escape back to hyperspace, fleeing in panic. The human fleet suffered minimal damage. 12 ships with minor hull breaches. 43 casualties. all from one ship that took a direct hit before its shields could adapt. War leader Xanthek sat in what remained of his flagship's bridge. Half his crew was dead. His ship was crippled and drifting. Everything he believed about Korthak's superiority had been shattered in a few hours. Admiral Kowalski's face appeared on his damaged screen. War leader Xanthek, your fleet is destroyed. Your empire's military infrastructure is crippled. Your homeworld is defenseless. Surrender now, and we will accept your government's capitulation. Never, Xanthek spat. The Korthaks do not surrender. Then you will die, Kowalski replied without emotion. Your choice. But before she could give the order to finish him, another transmission came through. It was from the Korthaks' homeworld. High Commander Vraxis appeared on the screen, his expression showing defeat and something humanity had never seen in a Korthaks before: fear. Human Commander, I am High Commander Vraxis of the Korthaks Empire. I am authorized to offer the unconditional surrender of our government and military forces. Please cease your attacks. We yield. The command center fell silent. Humanity had won. Not just a battle, but the entire war. 6 months of preparation had resulted in the total defeat of an empire that had dominated the galaxy for centuries. President Vasquez addressed the Korthaks leadership from Earth. Your empire murdered innocent people. You destroyed peaceful colonies. You enslaved entire species. Today you learned that humanity will not tolerate such actions. She paused, her expression hard. These are our terms. You will release every enslaved population in your territory immediately. You will dismantle your military and submit to galactic oversight. You will pay reparations to every species you have harmed. And you will never again threaten another peaceful civilization. Vraxis bowed his head. We accept your terms. The news spread across the galaxy at the speed of light. The Korthaks Empire, undefeated for 300 years, had been brought to its knees in a single day by a species that had been in space for barely 50 years. Other alien civilizations watched in amazement and caution. The Valerian Confederation sent a diplomatic message. Humanity has proven itself worthy of respect. We wish to establish formal relations. The Thracian Collective, once conquered by the Korthaks, sent messages of gratitude. You freed us when no one else would. We will never forget. Even species that had been wary of humanity suddenly showed interest in friendship and trade. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted overnight. On New Harmony, Commander Sarah Chun walked through the ruins of her colony with a young girl who had lost her father. Reconstruction had already begun. Ships arrived daily with supplies and workers. The colony would be rebuilt, better and stronger than before. Did we win? The girl asked. Yes, Chun replied, kneeling down to the child's level. We won, and we made sure that what happened here will never happen again. My daddy would be proud, the girl said softly. He would be, Chun agreed. We all are. Dr. Marcus Webb sat in his laboratory, looking at the quantum weapons that had changed everything. He thought about how close humanity had come to extinction, how easily the Korthaks could have destroyed them if given the chance. He made a decision in that moment. Humanity would never be unprepared again. Captain Okoye returned to civilian life, but he kept his ship and his training. He established a new organization, the Free Trader Defense League, civilian volunteers who would help protect colonies and trade routes. Hundreds of captains joined immediately. 6 months after the war ended, President Vasquez addressed the Galactic Assembly for the first time. Representatives from 40 species gathered to hear what humanity had to say. We did not want war, she began. We wanted peace, trade, and cooperation. But when we were attacked, when our people were murdered, we responded with everything we had. Some of you feared us before. Some of you doubted us. Now you know the truth. She looked around the chamber at the assembled aliens. Humanity will be a friend to those who seek peace. We will trade fairly, share knowledge freely, and help those in need. But we will also defend ourselves and others against tyranny and oppression. Never mistake our desire for peace as weakness. Never attack those under our protection. And never forget what happened to the Korthaks. The message was clear. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage not as victims or conquerors, but as a species that would not be pushed around. A species that valued peace but was fully capable of war. A species that other civilizations would need to take seriously. In the ruins of the Korthax homeworld's military command center, workers cleared debris and found a wall where someone had carved a message in crude human script. It said simply, "They asked for mercy. You gave them fire. We returned the favor." The Korthax Empire ceased to exist. Their former territory was divided among the species they had enslaved, helping them rebuild and establish their own governments. Korthax individuals who had committed war crimes were tried and punished. Those who had been simple soldiers were allowed to return home and rebuild their lives peacefully. The galaxy learned its lesson. Humanity was not just another species to be conquered or ignored. They were innovators, strategists, and warriors when necessary. They were the species that had defeated an empire in a single day. And they were the species that would shape the future of galactic civilization for centuries to come. The last species that challenged humanity had been erased, not from existence, but from power and relevance. Their empire was gone. Their military was disbanded. Their arrogance was shattered. And every species in the galaxy understood one simple truth. Humanity, fuck yeah,